you can actually change your physique a little bit acutely with your pump up.
Hey, good topic. Bring it in.
So, like for example, if you're, let's say, men's physique competitor, and let's say you don't have the greatest delts, like you need improvement there, well, you could just bomb the shit out of them while you're pumping up and get a super pump, and you can actually obviously increase the size of them right there on the spot. So like sometimes I do a little I'm a little strategic with certain athletes depending on what their strengths and flaws are as far as like their pump up is concerned. And I do that myself when I pump up personally. Like my arms are a strong part, so I'm not like gonna go ham on my arms. It's more like, okay, as a bodybuilder, competitive bodybuilder, like Berto said, when you turn to the back, that's where it's like, okay, that's where you need to be on. So I'm like focused more so on like my back, my delts, to create that illusion of taper and thickness. So you can be very strategic with your pump. That's something I wanted to point out.
Do you do like a test run? I mean, I know you know yourself, but like with an athlete, do you just have like a little protocol you like to give them, or
During peak week?
okay.
Yeah, but I don't like test run it prior.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't
you
want
just
to
know
interrupt
like
training.
here's their body and here are some places we'd like
Yeah.
to get an
Let's
extra
focus on this when we're pumping up.
couple millimeters if we can.
Yeah.
Get a little flood there. Okay.
That's it.
It's not a bad. There's gonna be a bunch of bikini girls now, like doing frog pumps, like as they like line them up.
I mean,
Well, you don't want to do it so much that you can't walk though. That's the thing too. Like it's what's really important about your pump is that you don't forget you got to go out there and pose, and that takes a lot of energy. So you don't want to make it into like a full blown training session. Like I've seen athletes do that backstage where it's like, okay, yeah,
and that's how
you're
you
gonna get on
guarantee
stage,
the
you're gonna be
shakes.
gassed. Yeah, you're gonna be so gassed. So you definitely need to pace it and be strategic from a poise perspective as well.
Talk about poise, Jeff. What does that mean?
That just basically means being in control of yourself. We think about the like the bodybuilding divisions where you got to tense your entire body. Like how many times have you seen guys up there and they look like they're doing a 500-pound deadlift because they're just trying to flex as hard as they possibly can. But I mean, if you were to just let off the gas a little bit, so instead of deadlifting 500, hey, let's deadlift 450. It's still heavy. It still takes energy. So same concept on stage. If you're hitting a pose at 85, 90% tension, you're still going to be flexed. Everything's still going to be visible, but yet you're going to have a lot more stamina endurance the deeper you get into, let's say, a prejudging. The only time I would say, hey, flex as hard as you can is like if you're at the tail end, they're calling most muscular shots. Yeah, squeeze 100% because you're going to look even more muscular because the blood pressure is going to elevate even more. You're going to get the nasty veins running through the chest, the form, and even into your head and all that good stuff that looks pretty crazy. And again, bodybuilding is extreme. So yeah, but for the most part, yeah, you don't need to flex as hard as you possibly can. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong on stage is they do that when they're posing. And it just like you can see it in their face. Their teeth are gritting. They look stressed in their face. So I can tell, I could just spot it right away. I'm like, if that guy just backs off just a little bit, he's going to look more polished, more in control of himself, look more professional up there.
Yeah. And so it needs to be practiced to like like how a 100-meter sprinter doesn't only do 100s, like they.
Well, it's like a power lifter. I'm not a powerlifting coach per se, but I know enough to know that, hey, they're not going to be doing 1-rep maxes every training session.
Right.
Yeah. So when you're posing, it doesn't like it. A good way to look at it is like if you go to a, I don't know, if you go to like a theater, where actors like plays, they look super poised when they're up there. They're in control because they've practiced. They've practiced their lines. They practice movement, what have you. So if you're in command like that, like you're trying to put on a performance, a controlled performance like that, then you're going to be better off for it. And
like you shouldn't have to think about it by the time you get on stage at all. It should be automatic.
Yeah. Well, it's just like because we're flexing, so we think we have to squeeze hard to things to be visible. And that's why I don't encourage people to practice posing like earlier than, let's say, 3 or 4 months out, because your body fat level isn't where it needs to be. So what do people generally do? Let me squeeze harder because I'm not seeing what I want to see.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing on stage. They have that same perspective. If I squeeze harder, people are going to see more. Or I'm trying to beat the guy next to me. So if I squeeze harder than him, then I'm going to show more. But it can backfire. That could actually be the opposite.
Yeah. So if you're lean enough, 85, 90% should be fine. And if it's not, maybe you should keep dieting.
Yeah, it's just it. If you're shredded, like you're peeled, like it's not going to take a lot to see everything.
Yeah. What else is on the scoring card?
You know, with the poise, you know what's I think a good way to describe it is just it's like your confidence, your swagger, and it's got to match you and it's got to match your division. You know, like I hate smiling on stage. Like to me, smiling on stage, this is like it just makes me nervous. This is flashbacks to like my school pictures. My mom's like, "You better like smile, okay?" So it's like, okay, take it, you know. But it's just you want to look like calm, rehearse, like Jeff said, practice. Like I've done all the work to get here. So it's just a walkthrough, you know, and you see it in varying amounts, but it does make a difference. And it shows up a little different on everybody. So like if you're doing bikini and it's like, this is how those girls are doing it. It's like, hey, like have your own brand. Like when you did your thing, Andrea, it was like straight up, like it was your own thing. Like, yeah, you were in character to an extent, but I'm like, yeah, that's Andrea right there. That's how she would do it. So, yeah, like Eric's got his own swagger when he's on stage. It's his way of doing it, you know. But yeah, you want it to not look forced and just like it's natural because I've been doing this for months now, you know.
Yeah.
Not so much force, but you can tell when someone's not prepared.
Yeah.
Like you can see it, just facial expression alone can tell a story.
See, I like
tell us-
smiling.
Yeah. Like you don't have to see, like it's not
It's just
like
something
you
to do.
have to smile, but
If you're
you don't want to look like
in anything
you're like,
besides
oh shit, I'm nervous.
bodybuilding, you kind of have to. I'm trying to think, right? Think about it.
Well, I mean, just in general, like if I walk up to you guys off the street and I smile, it's inviting,
Yeah.
right? Whereas if I'm just like I look like you're gonna think, what's wrong with me, or what's wrong with this dude? He's like looks all weird. He looks nervous. What's going up?
Yeah.
What's up with this dude? So that's what the judges kind of can see. You know, the judges, yeah, they're comparing your physiques, but they're also like that can be part of the presentation, your confidence level.
Yeah.
How well prepared you are. And I know Brad's been on the judging panel at some shows, and he even told me like, "Hey, this guy was looking like this, and it drove me yin yang. It was like just bugged him, and he in his mind he actually marked him down because of it, because of the way he was posing and things like that. So it can matter to some judges
Yeah.
as far as
I guess we got to always remember too that we say some divisions are more objective than others or whatever, but a judge, unfortunately, it's not like, for example, I was a gymnast growing up, right? And there is a code of points and every skill has a certain value and every deduction has a flat or a range of how much you should dock someone for doing these certain things, right? And unfortunately, bodybuilding is not like that. There isn't one governing body for everybody who's doing bodybuilding. There isn't the same score sheet for every organization. There isn't the same criteria to pass whatever test is needed to be a judge. So like we do the best we can to fit these criteria that are on the website of your organization, but at the end of the day, they're just people that have preferences, just like you said, like art. Like some people like certain paintings and some don't, and do the best we can.
Yeah, because what's interesting is like each federation on their, like you said, on the website has like each division's criteria, but then at some shows you go to, you're like, person that won didn't necessarily fit that criteria that's listed on the website. So why did they win? Well, in comparison to all the other people that were on stage, they look better regardless.
Yeah.
So how it's hard to deny someone that looks better than everybody else, regardless of like even what the criteria is saying.
Yeah. And the most common way we see that is when very, very bodybuilder lean competitors win the what are labeled as the softer divisions, right? Like we see hella lean male physique competitors and hella lean bikini athletes win when the website definitely says that that's not
Or in
supposed
bodybuilding,
to.
you get that like that amateur guy who's like since 16, he's had like a fat-free mass like index of like 27, you know. So he looks like a man with like boys next to him. And he's not even lean, but it's like
Yeah. He's just that like the bellies are big, the size is there, yeah, and they're just not as lean as they're supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah, because you get that a lot. You see on bodybuilding, the guy who's big, maybe not as shredded, but yet wins, and then the other guy's like peeled to the bone, and everybody's crying. Well, how did that guy win? He's soft. I go, yeah, but look at the symmetry and look at the size. It's hard to deny. And on the flip, that could be the opposite too.